everyone. Hi, thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome to Freedom Film Network's online panel discussion, Sense and Censorship, Make It Make Sense. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm going to be your moderator this evening. My name is Shamaine Othman. So thank you, Freedom Film Network, for inviting me to moderate this discussion. So we're going to jump straight into it. So ladies and gentlemen, in conjunction with the recent launch of Freedom Film Network's campaign Bebaskan Filem Merdekakan Minda Rakyat to reform film censorship, we have invited a few speakers from the industry, a few filmmakers, to share with us their experiences with censorship, the challenges that they've gone through and how they've managed to work around it. Okay, I'm sure everyone knows we have to be very creative in working around our censorship guidelines here in Malaysia. So I'd like to introduce our speakers for this evening. First up, we have Adam Zainal. Yes, Adam Zainal, our youngest filmmaker here today. He graduated from the Faculty of Cinematic Arts from MMU, and he's known for his short films that like to explore themes around youth, adolescents, such as Bebel, Ngelamun, Pekak, and the popular Kantoi. His short film Awesome also was in the top 10 at the BMW Shorties in 2019. And Adam is currently developing his first feature-length film. Adam, say hello, wave to the camera.
Hi. Thank you for having me. It's really nice to get to jumpa korang semua and talk about the same things that is making us all pressed. So yeah.
Okay, our next speaker is Bahir. Mo is a producer who works on TV, advertising, and film. He produced Zahir Omar's Fly By Night that premiered at the Busan International Film Festival, and also Motive, directed by Nadia Hamza, which premiered at the Udine Far East Film Festival. Mo is also a co-founder of Wayang Works and is an alumni of the Berlinale Talents and a member of the European Audiovisual Producers Network. Hi, Mo. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Can't wait. All right. Our next speaker, we're very honored to have her here, Cheyenne Tan. Cheyenne Tan is a filmmaker based in LA who co-produced the documentary St. Louis Superman that was nominated at the 92nd Academy Awards in the documentary short subject category. Yes, we have an Oscar nominee with us today. St. Louis Superman also played at the Tribeca Film Festival, AFI Docs, and Traverse City Film Festival. And he also won a Critics' Choice Award for Best Short Documentary and was named one of the International Documentary Association's Documentaries of the Decade. She's now currently in Kuching, Sarawak. So hello, Cheyenne.
Hi, thank you for the lovely intro. I'm, excited to be here and really good to be home.
Yes, we're so excited to borak-borak with you today. And last but not least, we have with us Junad M, director and writer and also tweet famous. She's known for her short films Oda Kalila, telemovie Nostalgila, and series such as Tiga Gadis Manis. And recently, Junad also directed a series of local ads for Netflix. And she also did a very good Hari Raya commercial for Julie's this year. And Junad is also the brains behind Laya Lucida, a production company, which she runs with photographer Nadira Zakaria. Hi, Junad. Hello.
Wow. Hi, Shamaine. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Yes.
Sorry, I tak pernah pergi Oscar lagi. I said yes to this forum sebab the organizer cakap diorang nak interview young filmmakers. So I pun rasa young, so I cakap okay lah.
For tonight, we are
young tau. Yeah, we are young.
Thanks, Freedom Film, for looking at us as young filmmakers. All right. Okay. So I guess let's just go straight into the first question. I just want to ask our speakers. Maybe we'll start off with Mo. So, okay, censorship, right? That's like a hot topic now. Especially now with Squid Games, there's this, on social media, there's this discussion whether it should be censored or not. People say it shouldn't be censored and stuff, you know, everyone's talking about censorship. And I think Mo, you actually worked on the Libres ads. So did you have any challenges dealing with censorship when you were producing the commercial?
Okay, so yes, we did the Libres ad. However, it was not censored. That was taken down by that was a conscious decision by the advertiser. I think like any advertiser, people are worried that, you know, for any backlash. But when we work with commercial, it's dealing with censorship is almost like that's a constant battle. It's always a conversation. Some of the censorship some part of censorship I think is crucial. For example, there's a very definite quote on like food and safety and things like that. And also overclaim. So I cannot do like, you know, dia share tertinggi dalam kopi jenama Mo belilah, so it cannot be that. But there's also, I think everybody here, when we make film, we self-censor a lot because there's a lot of ambiguity and a lot of things that we are not sure of. So when we make the films that we made, for example, everything has been pre-censored. Even when we were doing the script, we met the police in advance to make sure things are tight so that we won't get into trouble later and lose a lot of money by not having the film
by
shown.
night or motive?
Both, actually, both. Okay. Yeah, but for commercial, it's funny because we still there are funny moments. I was trying to when we were talking about this, I don't remember, but I was reminded there was once we had a commercial for a breakfast cereal, and it was simple enough. It's in office. So the office mates all come in the morning and they drink this breakfast cereal, and suddenly they light up and they break into a dance. Okay. When we got back from the censorship board, they said we can't air this, and it's so where did you go wrong? I think we had all the halal cert, everything that was in order, and then the comment was like, ini bukan disco, kenapa dia orang menari? So it's like, so that was that was one of the funny ones that we've got along the years.
So when it comes to commercials, it also goes through LPF, or is it a different body that approves for commercials?
It's still the same board. It's the same that under Home Ministry. So anything that goes through the TV or cinema will have to go through LPF.
Right. Okay. I guess, yeah. So now people will know even all the commercials have to go through censorship and have to deal with things like, it's not a disco. They cannot be having breakfast there, right? What about Adam? As a young filmmaker, have you experienced notes from our censorship board that have maybe hindered your storytelling? Can you share with us?
Yes, actually a lot of times whenever I have certain ideas, I tend to self-censor myself sebab yelah macam takut ni tak boleh, tu tak boleh semua. But then all I can think of is I'm just gonna upload it on YouTube je. So it's just like Mo said, benda tu only apply kalau masuk dalam TV or cinema, right? So macam I have some sort of freedom there. But here's the thing, macam when I went through the LPF punya macam guideline semua kan, they have 100+ pages macam novel dah. And it's macam they can literally censor anything, you know? They can literally censor anything, and macam all we can do, I mean yang kalau nak rasa selamat sangat nak create something, it's propaganda stuff or kiddie stuff je. So macam so it's a bit tough juga, and reading the LPF thing tu buat I macam sangat lah. And then at the end of the day I macam okay, I like to not self-censor myself sangat. So at least I have more creativity going on in the script. Kalau tak, it will block me definitely.
So you started doing your short films, and then I know you've also done commission work this past year dealing with TV. Has it been challenging, the self-censoring.
I mean, I do know where like certain commission jobs are coming from and everything. So I wouldn't want to be like, no, I nak ni juga or whatever lah. I do understand where they're coming from, but it's still like macam there will be a conversation where we'll like macam lah benda tu pun kena censor ke?
Right. You have with us some clips, right, that you wanted to share?
Yes, I do. If you can show clip number 1, basically that
note.
clip is,
You're going to talk through us, right? The censorship.
Yeah, I'm going to talk through it. So mute. So this is from my short film Kantor, right? Apparently this went through LPF because we wanted to have a showcase in Pavilion GSC. And this scene is one of the thing that they rated 18 plus because the characters are arguing, bergaduh dekat dalam koridor sekolah. Which I was like, benda ni pun kau nak censor ke? Macam benda ni pun tiba-tiba the film jadi 18 plus, you know? Out of like all the things, banyak because of the characters are arguing with each other.
So basically just because of the argument lah, bukan the topic that they were arguing.
They're not even swearing. They're not even like calling each other like swearing words like babi or bodoh or whatever tu semua. But they're not even saying curse words. So macam I don't know, ni pun boleh jadi like issue, you know? So it's pretty much annoying lah.
Okay. Do you have another scene or was that it?
That is one of, because that film basically banyak gila argument, so all the clips yang I hantar semua argument clips lah.
So basically they had issues with school kids.
Yeah, different scene, but same thing going on lah, bergaduh-gaduh. And which got me like question, like drama petang ada je makcik-makcik bergaduh dekat luar rumah, marah anak mertua ke apa semua. And this is not allowed. So I'm macam, what?
This was in the end, so you made the cuts lah for the screening, Kai?
No, I didn't. Because they just put it notes where like, oh, the reason why cerita ni 18 plus because ada benda ni. But there are parts that I have to cut out because, but technically they didn't say kena keluarkan. They say that I have to censor it. And there was a scene where this girl called the other girl anjing or something. And I had to like mute that word out lah tu semua. That, when she say the word anjing tu, I have to mute it out tu semua.
Right.
And even in the toilet, you know how tanda sekolah macam mana, there's a lot of like conteng.
Yeah.
I even had to VFX all of the production designer punya kerja in post. So macam it's like tambah kerja pula.
We'll get back to that. I want to go back to this with you and Mo and maybe Junad. Just want to talk about the cost of censorship. But I think Junad also has shared with us a clip of a short film that had to go through some censorship. Junad, do you want to share with us this short film, Kalila?
So Kalila was made in 2014. Cadangannya adalah Kalila ada sebuah filem pendek 2 minit. Cadangan dia adalah untuk ia dijadikan PSA sebelum di pawagam, sebelum apa-apa movie bermula, dia tunjuk PSA 2 minit kan. Tapi disebabkan tak lepas di LPF, kita batalkan cadangan tu, tunjuk saja di YouTube. So maybe kita boleh tonton sama-sama, dia 2 minit.
From Kalila, adegan yang dipotong. So Junad akan explainnya lepas ni.
Baik.
Budak ni. Kalila dah 11:30 dah nak. Betul lah budak ni. Kalila, cepat bangun nak. Dah nak tengah hari ni. Kejap lagi ayahlah nak datang. Cepat tolong mak masak. Apalah nak Dara bangun lambat ni. Ya Allah. hati kali lah. Aduh. Anak dara apa kau ni?
Assalamualaikum. Kom apa?
Combat.
Bat apa?
Batman.
Man apa?
Mentos.
Tos apa?
Tose.
Se apa?
Setan.
Setan lah semua adik takut.
Dah besar, nak dara dah kak.
Halal.
Ya, saya.
Potong bawang pun pakai spek hitam. Ya, aku takutlah. Manalah tahu dia jadi anak dara tua nanti. Siapa dah ni?
Dara tu apa?
Alright. Thank you, Junad, for sharing that. Okay, I nak teka part mana dia minta apa? The setan part?
Betul. Basically it's the whole sequence yang assalamualaikum, kom apa, combat, yang tu yang tak lepas. Sebab ia seolah-olah mempersendakan salam.
Right. Okay.
Tapi waktu tu penerbit yang pergi menghadapi LPF kan. Pengarah saya tak tahu, saya sebagai pengarah saya tak pergi berdepan dengan LPF sendiri. Penerbit yang pergikan untuk saya. Jadi bila dia cakap Junad ada satu scene tak lepas lah. Saya ingatkan yang dia cakap siapa dara ataupun budak kecil tu nyanyi dara tu apa. Tapi rupa-rupanya itulah assalamualaikum.
Tapi in the end Junad tak potong kan?
Saya tak potong. Sebab tunjuk kat YouTube je. So tak jadilah LPF.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry lah LPF.
Before I go back to the thing about the cost of censorship, Cheyenne, you've already heard us Malaysian filmmakers having to deal with censorship. I guess maybe you can share with us, working in LA, like have you had to deal with, is there any censorship when you're working there, or maybe when you're working with like international collaborators, like do you have to take into consideration about censorship? Yeah.
I would say over there, I don't think there was ever a time where I had to think about filtering myself in any way. I mean, if you think about it, St. Louis Superman is a pretty political film, right? It's about a man who, like, very vocal about gun violence in the Black community and all of that injustice that could happen. So it's like, I think a lot about how, like, would we be able to like make something like St. Louis Superman here or not? Like, short answer is probably no, because we don't want, people are never going to let us, it's not like slander other people lah, but it's like talk about what's happening, right? Like around us. But co-production, not really, honestly, because ultimately a lot of the stuff that we do is for the international market, because we thankfully have a pretty good relationship with a lot of different streamers. So obviously, all of it is still up to network to lock the cut and everything, but then not really to censor us, really to make the film better, or so that it doesn't get interpreted, like, so that the way, like, what we're trying to say doesn't get misinterpreted, basically.
Right. Okay. So basically sort of like being ethical, like like being an ethical voice. Right.
Yeah.
So I think we had a chat like a few days ago, and then you were thinking of doing work here in Malaysia. So, seeing as, the type of censorship we have to deal with, are you welcoming it, or yes, I'm going to challenge myself?
I think this panel came on like a perfect time, because I just got home and then kind of still looking around to see what I can do and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's scaring me a little bit, because everyone's like, oh, I self-censor. And then like the moment I came back, right, and like start talking to people for potential stories and leads and stuff, I also start self-censoring, like, oh, cannot talk about this because X, cannot do this because of this, and a lot of it is like, I mean, I'm a documentary filmmaker, so obviously a lot of the things I do are things that I really care about, right? Like issues and stuff. And I know that Malaysia, we still have a lot of things that we should talk about as people and all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think it's sad that a lot of filmmakers, like Malaysian filmmakers, who are really good. I mean, we've seen their work; they're really good. I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, like Malaysia Got Talent. Like when we went to Oscars, right? Malaysia Got Talent. Like, yeah, we know that. We already know that, you know. But like, what are we doing to help the talents get what they want? I mean, like, are we just going to put our films on YouTube forever and
Yeah.
get lost in that rabbit hole? You know what I mean? Like, it's you know, it's like that's not a sustainable way to do this whole road to Oscars stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think I want to throw a question to all of you, and I think everyone's mentioned it about self-censorship. Do you guys find that self-censorship stifles the creativity or sort of like encourages you to be more creative? And are we over-censoring when we self-censor? Anyone can jump in first, maybe Junad or Adam.
I feel like there's some sort of like a 50-50 about it and everything. I do not want to like macam cakap, yay, censorship or whatever, but given like the time where I had to like self-censor tu semua, it did like make me jadi extra creative to find out more ways how to like deliver certain stuff without offending anyone or whatever. But at the same time macam, if only censorship tak ada kan, I dah buat dah benda ni semua, tak kisah. Dah lah I ada anxiety lah. So bila I tulis ni tiba-tiba dapat anxiety pula, like macam takut pula aku dengan like LPF tiba tembak berini ke apa.
I know Junad has her own personal LPF, which maybe she wants to talk about. Junad, you ada LPF you sendiri kan? Ipoh kan?
Ya, sebenarnya LPF saya mak saya lah. Nama dia pun Faizah, jadi Lembaga Penelitian Faizah. Jadi LPF lah kan. So saya lagi takut mak saya daripada LPF. So saya fikirlah apa yang mak aku akan marah kalau aku buat kan. Tapi sebenarnya bila cakap pasal self-censor, susah lah. Dia okay self-censor, tapi dia lebih pada berhati-hati tanpa hilang Junad punya essence.
Faham?
Kiranya hasil kerja tu masih
Ya,
Junad.
masih Junad.
Hasil kerja tu masih Junad.
Junad
Dia kena
lah.
berhati-hati saja. Apa dia?
The Junad stamp tu tak hilang.
Tak hilang lah. Kadang-kadang saya tengah tulis cerita filem komedi horror, okay, komedi seram. Jadi tengah tulis lepas tu first draft penerbit cakap tak boleh ada roh-roh ni semua. Dan macam kenapa tak boleh ada roh kan? Tak boleh ada roh berterbangan. Nanti LPF takkan lepaskan. Jadi benda tu macam tak yang tu saya tak self-censor ke apa, saya tulis je roh. Okay, tapi rupanya tak boleh lepas. Walaupun cerita tu cerita hantu, tapi tak boleh ada roh berterbangan.
Kadang-kadang kita
Jadi
punya self-censor tu tak boleh go. Kan?
Itu lah. LPS ni macam yalah.
Yeah.
Kira unpredictable.
Very unpredictable. So going back, I think just now, Adam, you were saying you had to CGI the graffiti in the toilet. Like, how expensive has your censorship cost you?
The thing is, I was a student, a broke student, where I just spend most of my money for production. So I literally have to like, did I suruh kawan I buat or I buat sendiri? Aku lupa. But yeah, I think it's like I cuba buat mula. I tengok kat tutorial how to like remove some stuff ke apa semua. I try buat nak meroyan, so I macam end up suruh my friend buatkan lah.
Yeah.
But you see, that's like the thing yang macam annoying. Like I had to put extra effort in post to remove apa yang art director I dah buat on set, you know. So macam it's annoying lah.
Mo, have you had to digitally remove anything?
Plenty.
Plenty.
I mean, but sometimes, it comes from self-censorship too. I mean, the most recent one that I can remember was the Libres one. I think we had to digitally remove every speck of what you call it on top of the cupcakes, the sprinkle. because I think somebody thought that it looked like pubic hair, so we have to go and kind of like rotoscope each and every one of those sprinkle and made it blend in with the cupcake.
So it's added work lah and added cost.
Of course, yeah. But I think that's the thing, like what Junad said, like a lot of things that came out of LPF that we hear of, like benda tu kadang-kadang is unpredictable. So the worry is macam one is like, is it going to lepas or not? But then when you go and argue, I've had this told couple of times by ahli lembaga. When you go and argue, normally the thing that we would do is like, hey, I'm gonna give you a couple example previously when this thing lepas, so why mine tak lepas? And when we do that, they hate it. They're like, okay, jangan bangkit cerita lama. It's like,
jangan bangkit kisah lama kan. Yeah, don't bring up.
I think that's the trickiest part, right? Like, because it's so unpredictable. So like, if it's clear cut, like, oh, no nude scene, like no, like all of that stuff, right? The one that we already know, right, is easier. But now it's like you kind of have to pretend to be them, which is like, and figure out like what will say no. Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, going back to your question earlier, Shamaine, right? Like whether if it limits your creativity or it makes you more creative. I think it's a little bit of both, but I think if I can speak for everyone on here, is that ultimately good story is good story. Like you don't, I believe that, if it's a good story, right, it doesn't necessarily need, a sex scene or a rape scene or a political scene or a violent scene for that matter. If it doesn't call for it, and there are plenty of Hollywood movies that just throw in all of these stuff for no reason sometimes. It also limits creativity in the sense that like we are filmmakers and we are, telling a story, and sometimes we have intentions in certain scenes, because like certain scenes can show relationships with the character that may be a huge turning point in their lives. But if we cannot show that to our audience, then it's like you miss a point in that story point also.
I guess, filmmakers at the end of the day, they're creative people, so certain dialogue put in there for certain effects, certain creative choices are made for certain effects. So I guess when we're self-censoring, it's like, how do I achieve that effect to get the effect without like, getting my things, my dialogue or any scenes censored. Yeah, so it is a challenge. I think when we had our chit chat a couple of nights back, I think I said because I also like write and I also like produce content, and I was saying the certain I personally like certain censorship guidelines, like no sex scenes, like that one I'm okay. Because you have to deal with the whole getting an intimacy coordinator and stuff, and I think exactly, Chen, like we don't necessarily like a story can be told without having to include like a sex scene. So I guess it's we may be sort of like bound to like different sort of like codes here in Asia. Yeah. Okay, so my next question I'm going to throw to everyone actually, Mo, Adam, Junad, Cheyenne. We do a lot of stories that's very close to our culture, like our Malaysian culture. Do you guys feel with this, we've had strict censorship guidelines for so long, do you guys feel like with all this censorship, Malaysian culture doesn't get to live in our films or the stories that we tell? Are we losing Malaysian culture in our films because of certain censorship guidelines?
I think this goes back to when we had the conversation about the article, the one that previous FFM winners that could be banned if it was made now, like Sepet, Gubra and everything. So I think it really goes back to that lah. And not gonna lie, it does feel like that. Like we sort of like lose a little bit of our culture. For example, like Junad punya case, like the Assalamualaikum bit. I saw it on Twitter, by the way, it went viral that time. I loved it. And because I remember doing that with my friends dekat sekolah, So like knowing that became an issue juga kan. And then for like future like projects tak boleh ada stuff like that we used to do waktu kecil or like with our friends now ke apa semua, our culture lah. It's pretty sad. And I think we can lose our identity as Malaysians in our films, you know?
Yeah. What about you, Junad? Do you feel, I thought Junad suka reference pop culture kan? But do you feel like macam with censorship we cannot fully show, I mean macam Kalilah kan, Kalilah punya story pasal this anak dara and stuff, which is very true, you know, kita kenal this character Kalilah, dia memang wujud in our lives, but because of censorship, you know, it doesn't get, you know, to be seen. So Junad, what are your opinions on this?
You know, the reason why I wrote that scene, yang the Assalamualaikum scene, sebab Kalilah ni dia nak tackle somewhat taboo subject, dara, pasal dara kan. Jadi bila kita cakap pasal dara, lepas tu Kalilah tu pula cakap siapa dara. So itu mungkin merujuk kepada premarital sex. Lepas tu ada women roles juga, mak dia cakap kau perempuan anak dara tapi tak pandai potong bawang pun pakai mata kan. So the reason why I wrote the Assalamualaikum Kenapa combat tu, sebab it's familiar, it's friendly. Jadi bila kita nak tackle a serious topic, you know, that's my style lah. I would use a friendly approach. That's the reason why yang Assalamualaikum Kenapa combat tu. And yeah, I agree sebenarnya dengan censorship ni memang kita boleh hilang kita punya culture lah, sebab katakanlah kalau I nak tulis nak buat cerita pasal you know, golongan terpinggir ataupun minority kat sini, katakan contohnya community LGBTQ. Jadi kalau kita tulis pasal LGBTQ, mungkin kita akan terpaksa mendedahkan sesetengah ketidaksetaraan sistemik ke apa ke kan, ketidakadilan sesetengah pihak, sesetengah kaum ataupun apa pun, tapi kita tak boleh buat. Dan kalau saya nak buat, saya kena jadikan LGBTQ tu akhirnya dihukum ataupun insaf.
Insaf, ya.
Jadi saya, you know, I don't want anybody to insaf, not on my watch, you know. No one insaf kan. So kalau kita buat insaf, hilanglah dia punya tu, hilanglah. It's my truth. I nak cakap I buat filem ni, it's my truth.
Yeah.
Tapi kalau you tell me that my truth is wrong, you want to censor my truth, hilanglah.
Exactly. We don't get to tell honest Malaysian stories, right? Yeah. Cheyenne, do you think Malaysian films, we have already sort of like established an identity? You say at the Oscars, they were saying Malaysia got talent. So okay, I guess, yeah, you know, you've maybe more as well, right? More and Cheyenne, you've done the international circuit. So you know, when you meet people from abroad, like what do they think of Malaysian films, the identity?
They don't think of anything. and that's the point, right? Like if you say like, oh, you know, Iranian films or Korean films or Thai films, you know, like Singaporean films, even people like there's something in their head that pop up, right? Malaysian film is like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing because they're, I don't know. I think obviously back home, you know, we can tell that we have, you know, certain culture and all of that stuff, but internationally, I mean, honestly, it's already a struggle just to find fellow Malaysian filmmakers who are working abroad also. So it's like, you know, but it's like we understand that a lot of people unfortunately feel like they can thrive better when they leave. And which is what a lot of people like kind of not frown, but like was very confused. Like, oh, why do you want to come back? Like, what do you want to do here? You know, that kind of thing. It's like I wish I can go. Like, if I had the money, I would go already. And I think that is how we're losing our culture, the brain drain, you know, in many ways. Because a lot of people cannot make films here, or cannot make films that they want to make here because of all these reasons, and then they like chala, and then everyone's like, oh, I don't want to make films in Malaysia anymore. And then who is going to be left here? People who cannot afford to leave, and then they are bound by all of these rules and censorship, which is devastating.
But do you think with the, I mean, in the past, what, 5, 8 years, there's been a lot of OTT platforms, right? But do you think with these platforms, Malaysian content, they have a chance to be more visible?
Absolutely. I mean, I was a bit confused when Netflix was on because I was like, can watch or not, like there are all these shows on Netflix that, and then apparently they don't get censored, which is, I think, a huge game changer for our filmmakers, because I mean, let's be honest, who goes to the movie theater anymore, especially the past few years, right? Like past year at least, Malaysians are actually very good moviegoers. But but especially now, like people don't go to the movie theaters, it's Netflix and other platforms and stuff. So definitely I think it's a huge game changer, and frankly I cannot wait to see like what else that we can kind of take advantage. Hopefully they don't like try to attack that one also lah, but
Yeah, I think I work with a lot of other filmmakers and writers and producers, and of course, there's most of us do want to, because sometimes we're so stifled, we want to go out and like do our work. But I personally find as a writer and filmmaker here, I like being here because so much of my work and my writing is connected to me being here,
right.
Malaysian. More going back to this whole the identity of Malaysian film. So you went to 2 festivals, one Fly By Night, which was mainly in Mandarin or Cantonese?
It's fully in Mandarin. I saw Malay.
And then you have Motif, which was a female Malay detective, very very like Malay centric like themes lah. So do you find macam like you go pergi this festival, diorang macam Malaysian film, ni Melayu, this like do they get confused, or do they like that we are different? Yeah.
I think film is like being known as an industry is like sum of all its part. It's not just like what is a Malaysian film. It's like we need to know who are the artists. I think this come with like numbers also. It cannot just be like one film every 5 years that we kind of like, oh, there's Bunuhan in 2010, and then after that what happens, right? So when we see like our neighboring countries, Indonesia or Philippines, who are kind of like in the same region, same culture that we do, they even Singapore, who I mean, they've managed to somewhat be there. However small they are, and Thailand had a Palme d'Or winner. I think we realized that our government has been promoting this cerita kenegaraan. I think they do realize that we are losing our cultural identity a bit, probably. But I think to be successful in promoting our culture, the piece of content that we do need to create an impact first. Like people need to want to watch it. So meaning we cannot just do a cultural or cerita kenegaraan that is all showing the positive. We need to be able to talk about our weaknesses. We need to explore questions like of our everything, like sexuality, how we need to talk about our religious identity. We need to talk about everything that we question and we watch. This is the contrast. There's a bit of disconnect because like I'm the oldest here, so when I grow up, yes, we buy VCD, kita baca blog for some news, but our information is still centered around the TV. So we watch telemovie, we watch movie, we watch berita pukul 8. Not anymore. So we're like we can keep making the same film that we have on TV, but the newer generation, the Adam, the Cheyenne, they're not watching what's on TV. They're watching like what's on Netflix and what's on, they can be on the LRT and watching like I May Destroy You or Handmaid's Tale. and these films are, there's a lot more depth, and they answers their question. They encourage conversation that we never even think of, like, going to. So we have the older generation that still hold on to this like idea of like, I want to control everything. They romanticize like total control. They want only positivity. And we have this generation that is like going to be like, I just want to, I want to be able to express myself. So here we are, like we're creating content that I think only because we want, at the same time we're trying to be safe because we don't want to lose money. So we're creating an aging content that soon enough is not going to be relevant.
I think at this point we're still sort of looking at making films for Malaysian audience first, right? Because like you said, we have to make our money back, right? So
I think, as a Malaysian filmmaker, I think I always want to make film for our audience, and I want to make good story for our audience to watch first, because I think I want to be here and I want to work here, and and we have a lot of stories. If the people on the internationally want to watch it, then it's great. It's great that we can create that market. But then the people who are going to really appreciate it, I hope, are people from my country first.
Yeah.
And to add to that point, right? I think I talk a lot about like, get other people outside to like watch our films and all that, right? But from my experience from St. Louis Superman, and even I made a film recently about the homeless crisis in LA, seen from the eyes of kids. Ultimately, like for me, one of the most fulfilling things about making the films at all is when the community that the film is about watch themselves on screen and relate to it on another level. It's like it's so rewarding, it's so fulfilling, because ultimately that is important, for us to see ourselves on screen in the most authentic manner possible. And if the rest of the world can relate to that, that's amazing. But it makes me sad that if I were to make a film in Malaysia and then my own people cannot see it, you know what I mean? And then like everyone else can see it, but then like no one else here can see it, and I think that's kind of sad. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're making films about our people, for our people to watch.
Yeah, I think I see like everyone when talking about wanting to make films for Malaysian audiences first, everyone was like aggressively nodding.
I mean, because even a lot of people, also my relatives pun cakap, Adam, you tak nak ke plan go to like luar negara and make films dekat sana je. And I macam, back to what Mo said lah, it's the exact same point. I cakap, I want to make films for where I'm from, my storytelling is like macam very groundedly based on like where I grew up in lah, kat Malaysia, kat Selangor especially. So macam if orang luar tengok and they enjoy it, okay lah, that's a bonus. But I don't think I can like macam pergi negara lain and relate to other people punya culture and buat films based on there. But that's just me lah.
No, I think everyone feels.
Yeah, and as someone who make films about other people's culture and other people's politics, right? I always feel very inadequate. Like I don't know enough about you guys. I don't know enough about this to be telling this story, And I think that's a very important reason why I came home, because it's like I need to come home and come back to my roots so that I can kind of discover that again about me as a filmmaker. But being abroad is like, sure, I've been there for X number of years. I already know kind of, I spent my entire adult life there. But then it's like, at the same time, I kind of straddle between two worlds. And you guys are absolutely right, making films here, you know what people your age or people older wants to see, and what's authentic and what's real and what would be relatable and what's not. And that's why we need Malaysian filmmakers to make Malaysian films.
Yes, and I guess looking forward for you guys punya film the next 2-3 years. I'm just going to read some comments we have from our viewers. From Kavita Mahindran, she said, fear shouldn't come in between artistic expression. It's rather important to discuss taboo topics intellectually rather than brushing it off under the rug, saying it's sensitive and we shouldn't talk about it. This way, we Malaysians will never have our thoughts to be freed, but instead we contribute to more societal problems. yeah, there's a lot of I feel like, what's the word, suppression, that's right. There's a lot of suppression, and I guess to a certain extent there's some truth to that, it contributes to more societal problems. Next comment from our viewer, Zeti Kang, Zetnis Kang, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. She said, we lose great stories of culture and also history. For example, the extreme censorship of lives during the communist insurgency. It's too one-sided. Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories or historical events which, we still haven't, had the opportunity to tell.
It's not just that tau. Sometimes I feel like macam when, I don't know, people kat orang atas, like macam they think about culture, they just think about the race that we have dekat Malaysia. Of course, our country is multicultural,
Yeah.
but it's more than that, it is more than that, because like for example, ada je culture lain dekat Ampang versus dekat Shah Alam ke apa semua, even though kalau Melayu dekat Ampang and Melayu dekat Shah Alam macam mana, kind of thing, so that's why if nak promote culture in our content ke apa, it's so one dimensional sebab you just cast 3 race like Indian, Malay and Chinese and call it a day. And I macam, oh my god, that is so bland and basic and macam tak ada effort langsung, So it's sorry, I'm so sakit hati.
But I think if you talk about like back to the historical element, I think we have a lot of films to be made out there about our very colorful history. But I think again, back to like being safe, I think when we do historical film, we have to explore, we got to humanize the people in there. We have to find their flaws at the same time, when we find their flaws, we find their strength. At the moment, I think we are not able to self-criticize, or we worry to self-criticize we worry that it won't lepas lah. So that's where we are right now. But I mean, I think, the thing is we need to be, we need to realize that, I mean, we're not against censorship like completely. There are things like, there are things that we things like religious provocation. We need to be mindful of that, sexual violence or terrorism. These are things that, but you cannot like pukul rata atau generalize. Benda ni we need to I think that's the other thing that I think Freedom Film Network has been talking about, like having someone who really understands film in the censorship board, or to find a way to make censorship or more based on rating and evaluated by people who are not swayed by political or under the home ministry where there are some political elements to it, and having more independence in the way things are censored.
So I'm going off what you just said more, I'm just gonna ask you guys, so what sort of support do you guys think LPF can provide to us filmmakers? Is it like sort of like you say lah, like not pukul rata, right? You sort of like, do you think like having a panel for each, a different panel for each film, you know what I mean? Like I feel like different people, you assign certain people for different films. What do you guys think? Any ideas? How can LPF support us filmmakers?
No offense, but I don't think they will do that. That sounds like a lot of work for them, So I don't think they will do that.
Junad, you rasa macam mana LPF boleh sokong filmmakers?
I think understanding.
Gelak terus. You gelak terus. Apa you cukup power dengan gelak tawa tu. Sorry, continue.
Understanding nuances, and also I think memahami yang perlu faham yang kita perlu jadi unapologetically ourselves, unapologetically Malaysian untuk buat good Malaysian story. So I think itu antara dia lah, like for me.
Okay. I want to ask you guys, how can young filmmakers, which I think it's us, how can we work together, I guess, to protect our creative work, getting out there without censorship?
Okay, actually, fun fact, and I had a conversation with my friend before. I was writing this one script, and like obviously I cannot say the word bitch ke apa semua tu kan. But I was talking to my friend lah, like macam what can be a really good Melayu way of saying it without actually mencarut, you know? And then my friend pun macam they have some insights that they could share juga. So I guess support system, like working together kind of thing to overcome like certain censorship that we try to portray without, without like macam actually using like the cursing word ke apa.
Actually, you bring up an interesting point. I have never, like, when writing and dealing with like a certain maybe sensitive topic, like consulted with my fellow writers or filmmakers. Junad M, have you guys, or Cheyenne, have you guys ever done that? Like when dealing with like a sensitive topic, you want to, sometimes kita tunnel vision kan, kita think we're so attached to it kan. So sometimes we need like an external eye to maybe help us. Have you guys had any experiences like that?
Someone to censor?
And like not someone to censor, but like talking to a fellow filmmaker or writer, macam I have this scene, I want to do it like this, tapi kalau aku buat macam ni, like mesti like, like how Adam was saying, macam dia nak guna bitch, like how do I replace bitch with a Malay word but with the same effect, Have you guys ever had any experiences like that?
Powernya korang kalau korang tak pernah buat macam tu.
No, I know Junad tanya mak dia.
No lah, I think because like I don't think we are there to provoke. So the stories that we write are, if it comes naturally. I think the swear word in Fly By Night, because it's like it came naturally. Like the talent just said it out, and so when things are written, I don't think we've ever written anything just for the sake of provocation.
Okay. I'm going to move to our next question. Okay, so let's say in another 3-5 years, our censorship guidelines have loosened, have been relaxed. Do you guys think we can make Malaysian films that can get to the Oscars? I mean, this is a hot topic, kan? Road to Oscars, and I think there's been a lot of discussions. And then one of the problems kita nak sampai Oscars ni susah pasal kita punya censorship. So, do you guys think kalau kita relax kita punya censorship guidelines, that we get to make that Malaysian film that will go to the Oscars?
Our films, I think any films, if done right, it can go even further. We can win the Palme d'Or if it's good enough. But I think it's a lot of element. It's not just the censorship. But it does not help that we are not able to tell an honest story. Or feeling safe to be able to tell an honest story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, Oscar is not the benchmark, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, Adam, that's a very good point. Oscar is not the benchmark. Junad, I have a question. Saya nak tanya awak. Kebanyakan filem yang kita buat boleh dikategorikan as filem Malaysia or filem untuk Malaysia saja? Do most of our have the exportability quality?
Rasanya kebanyakan filem sekarang filem untuk Malaysia. Tapi macam Mo cakap tadi, sebab we're not a good story comes from a genuine place kan. So if the story is good, it can travel, it can go places. Tapi malangnya kita tak boleh jadi genuine, kita tak boleh jujur bila berkarya. Jadi itu antara sebab juga susah untuk kita keluar. Tapi kita ada gems, kita once in a while kita akan ada permata.
Permata. I guess I just gonna ask this question just popped into my head. In the past, maybe 10, 20 years, was there a Malaysian film that you guys felt could have represented us at the Oscars or at a big at the Cannes Film Festival? Yeah.
That Kaki Bakar was there.
Kaki Bakar.
It was at
Berapa tahun?
That's why Kaki Bakar 20 tahun.
dah berapa tahun lah. Sekejap.
Oh shit. Sometimes I forget my age,
But what was the last Malaysian film that got to Cannes, that screened at Cannes?
Ming Jin's film.
Okay, Ming Jin's film. That was, which year was that?
I think 2016, 2017.
About 5-6 years ago lah.
Was it called?
It was it River Exploring Durian? No, hang on.
Yes.
This is easily searchable on Google. No, that was Edmund's film, sorry. I forgot, but I'll find out.
Yeah, we can share it with you, Cheyenne. Adam, as a young filmmaker, the new generation, what sort of support or resources, you guys like looking for, or you guys feel like we need to pay attention to?
Well, this is a topic yang I banyak kali borak with other friends who is a filmmaker as well, that is my age juga. We sort of felt like macam the label young filmmaker ni kan, like macam if they want to hire us, if they orang cakap, oh we're looking for like a young director, a young filmmaker, tu semua kan, kita akan terus macam like jeling lah, because like it's pretty sure that you guys are just filling up the quota, because I dah beberapa kali dah dapat like commission jobs where they said that, but at the end of the day I tak dapat apa-apa pun. They just use my name as this young filmmaker, director, whatever tu semua, padahal decisions in creating something I tak dapat buat apa-apa pun. And all because of because you tak cukup experience. And I'm like, how am I supposed to gain experience if you hire me tapi letak I kat hujung? You're not even nurturing me ke apa semua, and I thought I was the only one yang went through this, but apparently there are few people that told me the same story juga. So it's pretty sad, like benda ni, tak tahulah benda ni common ke tak, but it could be common for young filmmakers to like try to dapat support system daripada people yang that has a lot of experience already and the knowledge tu semua.
Do you think it's do you experience like a lack of trust? Is that a case of they lack trust?
The lack of trust tu, okay, here's the thing, like macam I boleh faham if you think that kita orang ni tak cukup experience or knowledge, because kita orang baru je masuk the industry. We're not like 30 years, 20 years in the industry. We're not even 10 years in the industry yet. So like macam I boleh faham that if you feel like macam there's no certain trust apa, but hello, you boleh je like kita orang boleh work together, not just like macam tolak ke tepi terus, like banyak kali I actually duduk dekat sebelah executive producer or the director, and like macam dia je yang buat all the decision and not any crew or like HOD tanya I like macam so Adam the art direction macam mana, Adam so casting macam mana tu semua. Everyone is asking the EP because the EP yang akan buat all the decision making. So it's very heart-wrenching lah. It's very heart-wrenching, because I really wanted to learn something, but how am I supposed to learn kalau I just like duduk situ and let everything just work by its own, by people not asking me anything, to do anything. Unless kalau bila I silap buat benda, baru nak cakap, anda ambil the director, how can you let this happen? Baru kau nak mengaku aku punya director, bila aku buat silap.
Well, we wish you all the best for your upcoming feature film, and I'm mengaku young filmmaker juga, so you can, if you need like support, you can come to all of us. Just want to share with you a few other comments from our viewers. Okay, we have another comment from Zetnis Kang. LPF can have great potential of supporting the film industry by embracing differences and looking at story script through a human lens, regardless of race and religion. Currently, I feel the censorship is too deep into cultural guidelines. Itu bukan budaya kita, as a reason to not allow a film to be screened needs to stop. I think this was maybe Zetni's response to my question about how LPF can support us. Another comment, Kevin Bathman. Another issue is we need a more diverse mix of staff in LPF in terms of race, age, gender. I'm pretty sure the current demographic staff mix in LPF is making these decisions are monocultural. So how would they understand the nuances of a cultural film that is not of their own? Wow.
I think that there is quite multicultural. The LPF, the construction of the board, I know because like even like when we submit something in Mandarin and something we plan something in the subtitle that was like not even in the dialogue, they would flag it. So they exist. However, I think one thing that is like evident is like when it comes to religious value, only Jakim sits there. And I think a lot of the things that came about, like like the Assalamualaikum, or I think there's some situation where certain ayat is being read. I mean, they have certain way they want certain ayat to be read. Those are all comments that came from Jakim.
Right. So
will it be beneficial then if we put one of our own, like infiltrate them, like maybe have a certain number of people on the board, like the actual filmmakers of different, backgrounds and age and experience? I'm just trying to think like if there's a way to infiltrate, like the system a little bit and make it more, how to say, like you said, right? If someone on it who is more conscious of film and what it takes to make a film and all of that stuff, like would it make sense to have a filmmaker?
I think it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I think it would make sense for this in this day and age. I think it makes sense for us to self-censor in a way to have a body that is run by filmmakers. I think that is not under the Home Minister.
Fair enough.
I'm not saying that we don't censor things. I just wish that thing because I think filmmakers know the language and we know where things are just purely because of provocation or things are like it's like certain things that we need to talk about, and we cannot just leave this to people who are who is not used to filmmaking. It's kind of like we are run by people who are from the Home Minister, who also kind of like is protecting our country, is like taking care of the police, so it's like it's like there's a conflict of interest there of some sort.
Yeah. It's like filmmaking is like crime, here to like arrest you.
Yeah, it's like it's very close to like if like I mean, I'm sure they would love it if all the films we make are propaganda films, because like at the end of the day, when it's under the Home Ministry, it's under a minister. A minister will always be they will be aligning to one political party or another. There's always a political belief behind it. And unfortunately, we're in a country where politics and religion is very closely associated.
Yeah.
And because of that, then, there's a lot of things that we cannot talk about lah.
We suffer lah. We have a question from our audience, Jason Chin. are Malaysians themselves ready for uncensored films? I actually have this as my final question. So, yeah, do you guys think, even if we relax our censorship guidelines, are Malaysian audiences ready for uncensored films?
To be honest, they're not ready, but if not now, then when?
I don't agree to that. I think, every single Malaysian right now have been watching content uncensored.
No, what I mean is like macam, for example lah, as simple as kalau, because my films are like macam mostly English speaking kan, and that became an issue already, So like macam to have like certain, okay, what I'm trying to say is like macam there could be like other side of like dekat Malaysia yang macam tak boleh terima uncensored films ke apa semua. But kita orang sometimes, just like Mo also cakap awal tadi, like we tend to learn things from the TV juga. We're getting like macam information and knowledge from TV juga. So if we have like this kind of stuff semua earlier or sooner tu semua, we could actually try to educate the audience juga when it comes to uncensored punya films ke apa, like new fresh content also uncensored juga lah.
I think what's interesting here is that Malaysians seem to be okay with uncensored foreign stuff. A lot of what they're watching now obviously is foreign because ours are all censored, right? But when it comes to like our own films, like I'm not sure if they are ready for that. Like for example, for me personally, what scared me a lot lah is actually like, I talked about this on other panels before, and it's in February, like everyone was like, oh, Malaysians get Oscar, blah 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 blah, and all that stuff, right? It was an Al Jazeera film, and then by the middle of the year, it was another Al Jazeera film that were in the headlines, and filmmakers were being prosecuted, or or investigated, and it's almost like a witch hunt. It feels like, oh, just the government or the authority or whatever, like we can't expect that from them, but it's almost like this mob of angry Malaysians, like regular people who like came after the filmmakers also. Like, how can you say this about our country when it is the truth? We don't treat our immigrants fairly or humanely, even sometimes. And it is a documentary, even Anna, Freedom Film Network's Anna, have been investigated for a film that they made, and I think it's like, are we really ready to self-examine and be self-critical and really talk about what's really important in our society? It's like, sure, we can say like if tomorrow we wake up, right, like normal censorship in Malaysia, we can show nude, we can show anything we want, right? People are not going to be ready for that like immediately. I think it is
It
going
takes
to be
time.
a slow, like you have to normalize it, get them used to it, and
Yeah.
handle it, and then they like, okay, yeah, like we can actually like do this now. Like everyone's gonna be looking around like, oh, is it okay or not, And that's the Malaysian way, right? Oh, is it okay or not? Americans is like, oh, I don't shit, like I'm just gonna go do whatever I want. But Malaysians is like, they like look around first to make sure. And I think that's the thing, is to kind of slowly ease them into it.
Yeah, I think like, because right now, like our society, we sort of have, those age 40 and above that sort of, grew up watching TV and film. Like those were like the only two sources. But now with like the internet and all the streaming platforms, they're seeing more uncensored content. So maybe like you guys say, it's a slow burn. Maybe when our kids, more when your daughter grows up, maybe she's the first generation that's like, we're cool with uncensored stuff because like we grew up with it. So, we'll never know. Hopefully it will change. Okay, so sorry?
Just one last thing to add to that. I think it's interesting because for me, I mean, I went straight to US when I was like 20 years old, something, right? The first time I watched a movie in the theater, like not censored, right, was so culture shock for me. And I considered myself so like westernized or whatever. Even then, I considered myself so westernized, right? But then I went to watch, and then there was like a whole sex scene that everyone was in the room and no one was reacting to it. It was like it was almost illegal. It felt illegal, at least,
Oh my God, same. I went to Singapore to watch like some movies and everything. And even like films in Singapore also, right, there ada like macam literal nude scene and nampak everything and they didn't even censor it out. I pun rasa macam, damn, culture shock jap. I'm literally watching this in the cinema, not on my phone or laptop, you know?
Exactly.
So like
With
macam
other
it's
people
a
around
thought.
you. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So
It's like you're
macam
watching a sex scene with your parents in the room with you, you know. It's like so embarrassing, you know, for like no reason actually. But
I,
so I think that's really important to examine when we want to kind of just, you know, take out censorship like immediately from our film industry.
I do wonder whether we start with TV, right? Loosen the censorship in TV and then to film. So maybe this is something we can all work together for worth fighting for in the next few years. Because I know we also do a lot of work with TV. I think I'm just going to open up questions from the viewers. Okay, I just wanted to let you guys know if you want to continue asking questions or posting anything about censorship, you're free to do so on social media to discuss the issues of censorship in Malaysia. Just include the hashtag Bebaskan Film. So this is part of Freedom Film Network's campaign to push for censorship reforms. Okay, so we have a question from our audience, Anne Lee. So she said, seems like everyone agrees there should be some censorship, for example, religious themes. So she wants to know whether we know what country has the best censorship laws as a benchmark. Are you guys familiar? Which country?
I mean, I think a lot of countries are already relaxing their censorship law to things that really matter. Like I said, like terrorism, religious provocation, sexual violence, suicide, or in the advertising side is like overclaiming or all like health and safety. But I think most countries are already having their films categorized as for age. So which we do too. So it kind of like we have it both way. We have the age category and then we have censorship on top of that. So it kind of like it's a bit, it doesn't make sense a bit. But most countries that I know, I think apart from really, really, really strict countries like Iran, they have like extremely strict censorship laws. I think China has quite strict censorship law. But apart from that, I think people are more relaxed.
So we have to start relaxing our censorship. And second question is, you have 8 members to choose to be on the censorship board. Who would they be? Apart from Junad's mother. I guess it's a mix, right? To have you need someone from home ministry, right? Who would you guys put on the censorship board? Or from which organization? So it's good. I think everyone's mother.
I think for sure, you need to somebody from like a film director to be there. We need someone a representative from the broadcasting section for sure. I think of course it helps to have some religious advice, but it cannot just be one religion.
Yeah. Like a multi-faith panel, right?
Yes.
I think instead of it being individuals, it should be groups. So like group, like body of filmmakers, body of religious, figures and and stuff.
And I think one thing that I find like pleasure in like speaking to the police, for example, when we were trying to get the script read, is that they truly understand how to read script, one, and they really understand the law, because I think police inspectors and all, they have to learn law. So the things that we can and we cannot do, even though I don't like not being able to do things, is quite definite and consistent.
Yeah. I just want to share more because you mentioned PDRM, and I wrote a telemovie, so we had to send which involved police, so we had to send PDRM to vet through, and there was a scene where a cop was flirting with the person at the police station, and we had to take that scene out because they said policemen tak boleh flirt. Kesiannya.
I know. I think in motif we wanted to make the to have her have a secret boyfriend or secret husband. I can't remember what it was, but they say you cannot because in police, if you have to report your pasangan or something like that.
Yeah, we were like, oh man, and it was so funny because the actor, his scene was totally cut off, the flirting scene. So yeah, these are the things that we have to deal with. I just have another question from Azmail, to what degree does political will or lack of by our elected representatives play in help challenging the broader governmental machinery and fighting for our community's behalf? It seems that we always end up where we started with every administration. Both sides of the political divide seem to be unwilling to take the risk.
I think, like everything else in this country, we have a very, very aging politician. We have aging politics. And I think it's about having younger people at the top. That's it. Media consumption now, the landscape has changed greatly from when they were growing up and people are more exposed. So there's a disparity, there's this disconnect. So sooner or later, nobody's going to be watching what we have.
Yeah.
And I feel like, if I can say this, I don't think that there are necessarily two sides, political divide. I feel like we've been run by the same people with different names. So there's why there's still no change, and yeah, exactly, younger people in politics and more diverse, because how many women are on there? How many Sabahan and Sarawahans are on there? How many, Orang Aslis are on there? Barely. So that doesn't just involve like, affairs regarding our states or, stuff like that, but like other ministries as well. Like how diverse is our government?
Yeah, so more diverse administration, younger administration. And I think us as filmmakers is to continue talking and continue pushing these censorship reforms. And I think, so sort of taking on Freedom Film Network's campaign to bebaskan film, we should continue to talk. I think we are almost out of time. Are there any more questions from our...
Sorry, while you wait for question, I managed to find the answer to that Cannes Mingjin film. I thought it was 5 years ago, but taking into account that we just lost 2 years, it's actually it was 2010. I have to search Mingjin film about baby selling babies.
That's what you Google.
Yeah.
Isn't that like Song Lab punya plot already?
Pretty close.
All right. I think there no more questions. All right. I think okay, we will end our panel discussion tonight. Thank you so much to our speakers, Adam Zainal, Cheyenne, Bahir, and Junad M. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this Freedom Film Network online discussion about sense and censorship. Make it make sense. At Freedom Film Network, we believe it's important to talk about censorship, and also filmmakers, I feel, should expand from discussing creative topics to discuss issues that really affect the industry. We can only start to solve our problems if we are aware of it and clear on what is wrong now. So we're on our own. No one else is going to fight for our rights. So if we want change, we need to do it ourselves. So please, to our audiences, I can tell from the questions you guys are film fans and you guys care about Malaysian filmmakers being able to tell their films honestly. So do check out Freedom Film Network's website, freedomfilm.my, and you can check out the Bebaskan Film Merdekakan Minda Rakyat page, the campaign. At the site, you can answer a survey. If you are a filmmaker, you can share your experiences with censorship. You can also watch Nasir Jani's Melawan Lembaga Puaka, and you can sign up, join the movement to get any further updates. So thank you very much to everyone. Let's keep the conversation going. If you guys are on social media, #BebaskanFilm. Once again, Freedom Film Network, Brenda, Anna, Huishin, Albert, thank you for having us. And we hope we get to do this again, maybe with another topic. All right, thank you. Bye.
Good night.